Hi everyone and welcome to the contingent staffing Q&A. Today we will be talking about recruiting strategies for competitive hiring. This is the agenda for today's webinar. As I discussed, we will be talking about market situation, how do you drive success in the current scenario, and how does Glider and Candidately align in your recruitment process. And then we will have a dedicated 15 minutes Q&A where you can ask your questions live. So now, Jan, please, can you introduce yourself and talk about your background?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the nice introduction. My name is Jan. I am the CEO and co-founder of Candidately, which is one of our products, and it's a client portal specifically designed for Bullhorn. So we help all kinds of staffing and recruiting companies all over the world to create faster candidate submittals, basically taking the traditional submittal process from email into the digital age. I'm also the founder of a company called Gustav, which is a vendor management product, also mostly used by staffing companies. And since 2 years, we are also running the World Staffing Summit, which is a large virtual gathering for staffing and recruiting companies. I'm super excited to be here today. Thank you so much for the invitation.
This is week 2. I've been here officially about 8 or 9, 10 days maybe at Glider. Super exciting time. I've been in the industry for over 18 years. Have held a variety of different roles in recruiting, account management, and now super excited to be part of this transformative journey for our industry at a super cool company called Glider. So excited to be here.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you all. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Glider AI Inc., a SaaS solution for talent quality used for hiring permanent or contingent workforce. We fundamentally believe in competency over credential, right? So our platform provides a system of record for talent quality at top enterprises, staffing firm, and MSPs. So the idea is that if somebody is capable, he or she must get a fair chance, irrespective of their pedagogy or any prejudice around race, gender, ethnicity, or age. Today, Glider works and helps hundreds and hundreds of staffing firms to stand out of the crowd and provide quality talent and bring more revenue. I'm so proud to share with you that last year, Glider is a winner of SIA Shark Tank for most innovative product in the staffing technology. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Before we start the webinar, I actually want to start off with a small story. This story is something that I had heard early on when I started, long time ago. There was this very kind, noble, great person. His name was Recruiter. All right. Recruiter was just a gem of a person. His whole goal in life was to go back and help other people try to make the world a better place. Mr. Recruiter would get up every morning with all positivity, energy, and go to his friend, Mr. Client, to see, Mr. Client, I want to make your life better. How can I help you? And Mr. Client was, he was a nice person, sure. But he was, Mr. Client would say, hey, I need help. I need all these people. They all have to have all these skills. I can only pay you this much and I need it then tomorrow. And Mr. Recruiter is excited, saying, okay, let's go back and I want to help you. And he goes back to these other group of friends, candidates that he knows well. And hey, I got something for you. I got something for you. It's a tough world because everybody is busy in their life. You're almost there. You're almost there. Take it back to the Mr. Client, go back to Mr. Candidate, go back to Mr. Client, go back to Mr. Candidate. That was his life. That was his life. But at the end of the day, Mr. Recruiter did the best he could to find the best candidate for his best friend, Mr. Client, trying to solve both of their challenges, trying to get their lives to be better than where they were. So long-winded story, but the point I was trying to make is this slide is sort of like a painful reminder of what pains recruiters go through every single day. Recruiting is hard. It has always been hard, right? To be that mediator between what the candidates, what the clients want and what candidates have to offer it's not the easiest job. Labor shortages have been in our industry for a long time. Engagement, long hiring cycle, right? Candidate side issues, client side issues, change in the cycle. All of these have forever been very difficult for recruiters to perform their jobs. And traditionally, unfortunately, there just weren't a whole lot of solutions available to make their life easy. But guess what? Today they are. Next slide, Ramila. Recruiters' life, like I said, recruiting has always been hard. Recruiters' life have been very difficult forever. The last 2 years, particularly, have been chaotic for the recruiting industry, right? Because of the pandemic and because of this remote-only world, companies had to go back and quickly adapt to remote sourcing, remote interviewing, remote onboarding, and try to make it work. And when the pandemic first came, it was more of a knee-jerk reaction, man. Everybody had to go back and do it swiftly and just make it work. But now we know that some of this remote world is here to stay. So now it is about planning for the long term. Now in a remote first world, how do recruiters go back and do the best they can? Remote hiring was a challenge. And then there is the talent market space. Twice as many roles than there were about 2 years ago, right? So that, in a sense, every candidate has twice as many jobs. Both of these have further contributed to the recruiter's life being difficult. And what does that lead to? That leads to the fact that candidates are kings. Next slide, Ramila. Candidate experience and employee retention are #1 front and center. All staffing companies, all enterprises, because that's the only way you're going to find anyone. That is a survey that Sharma did for what are newer things that enterprises are doing, all the way from remote work, telemedicine, better leave, better mental health services. Companies and staffing companies, whether you're doing full-time recruiting at an enterprise, whether you're doing full-time recruiting at a staffing firm for a customer, or if you're doing contingent work, you have to do more above and beyond than what you've done in the past to be able to attract and retain the best talent. So this is the whole context. The story is, for this conversation, I would like all of you guys to go out and put your recruiter hat on, right? I don't think you can see it, but put your recruiter hat on. As a recruiter, right? Traditionally, tools weren't available to help you do your job better, but today they are, and that's what we're going to focus on. Talking about tools and technologies and adoption in our industry and space. That is a survey that Ardent Partners did this year for about 400 enterprise customers to gauge their willingness to adopt technology to assist with all of these steps in the recruiting lifecycle, right? All the way from fraud detection to screening to DE&I. Companies are ready. Those blue bars are where enterprises are already using them in some way, and the black bars are where they plan to make a change within the next 2 years. So technology is going to see broad adoption in our space, which brings us to Glider. Satish, can you share, what is Glider doing to help recruiters do their job more efficiently, more effectively in this hiring candidates, good quality talent in a remote-only world?
Thank you, Nimitt. First of all, I did not know that you had so many friends, including client and candidate all across. And I didn't know that they were friends as well, but great story. So some of the problem statement listed here in Ardent Partner survey truly brings out the pain that recruitment firm goes through for serving their clients. I'm going to pick some of them here, but as you can see that pretty much all parameters here are going to double by 2024, which means that there is a lot more strong interest from enterprises to find solution for the challenges that are listed here. I'm going to cover a few of them, how Glider is helping our clients to mitigate the risk and solve the business challenge. So let's take talent fraud detection. We all know that today we are in a remote world, and that does bring a lot of challenges. And that is actually made the problem worse. I'm sure all recruiters have one or another story about encountering fraud in the process. Now that people are going to work remote, the intent has changed as well, and the kind of issue that we are facing has become worse. So we are seeing right now that even in the interview process, people have become a little bold to have impersonation, which means somebody else is going to participate in the interview. Because remember, once you can get to the interview round, you can work from home anyway, right? So you don't have to show up in the office. So that really has changed the dynamics. And from our own data standpoint, from 2020 to 2021, there is 92% jump in the fraudulent activity. So these are no longer stories. I'm telling you based on the data point that we capture working with hundreds and hundreds of clients here, right? So this is a genuine problem. What we have done at Glider, that for remote hiring, we have enabled solution, be it assessment, be it live interview, or be it even onboarding. Our goal is to make sure that candidates are genuinely taking the test on their own without an external help. We have 50 data point to ensure that the submission is genuine by candidate for the test. When it goes to interview round one, we make sure that it is the same person who took the assessment. When you go to interview round two, we make sure that the same person who took the last interview round and who took the assessment. So you don't have to worry about that at all. We take care of that automatically. We have extended our boundary to onboarding as well. We will make sure we have a process in place that will automatically make sure that this is the same person who you are onboarding, who went through your multiple interview round or interview round with your client. Now, you don't need too many such bad apples. No, even one or two can really destroy your reputation in front of your client, right? It's a big risk for you. In remote, it has become worse. So we take care of that problem for you in a highly automated fashion. Next, I wanted to touch upon diversity and inclusion, right? So hot topic in the market. So from the requirement perspective, we want to make sure that we capture candidate data point to make sure they are indeed genuinely taking the test. But on the other hand, when it reaches the decision makers, we do not want to reveal the personally identifiable data. So what we do, we track candidate through webcam, screen share, clickstream while taking the test or in the interview. But when all the candidates who have taken the test are presented to the hiring manager, we can mask all the name, email, video, image, etc., and let them shortlist based on their score, based on their capability that they were asked to showcase, right? And once they shortlist those people, then they can reveal who they are, which means the entire data, the entire decision-making process was objective or data-driven. They did not even know who the candidate was, while at the same time, we ensured that it is a genuine candidate who took the test or who participated in the interview round. So that has really enabled us to make sure that top of the funnel, we are not really kicking out diverse candidates because of our own biases, right? Most of the problems are that we exclude diverse candidates in the top of the funnel. They don't even get a chance to be presented to talk to the hiring manager. So we take care of that problem through our DNI solution. Another, I wanted to capture this talent nurturing. So one of the challenges, as Nimitt pointed out, that they have to get the requirement from the client and they turn back to the candidate pool. Hey, we have a great opportunity for you. But it is a manual process, right? Sending email, calling people, following up, it's just too much overhead. And you know what? Honestly, I would personally want as recruiters to do the sales job, really sell the opportunity, not spend time in the manual of follow-up and trying to make call just to find out that person is not available right now to talk to me. We have something called ScreenBot solution that really goes out on your behalf at at a massive scale, omni-channel, which means it will reach out to the candidate through WhatsApp, through SMS, through email, through phone call, and really in a staggered way, and bring their interest, bring their intent to you. And now suddenly tomorrow you have a pool of people who are vetted, who are interested, and who want to talk to you. And your job is to really explain the solution opportunity. So trying to reverse the model here, right? To really save your time and make it more efficient process overall. So again, we have many solutions. I want to just capture a few of them to make sure that we are indeed answering to the market need. We're indeed geared towards helping our client to do the job in an efficient manner and really bring more revenue.
That's
Awesome.
such a great input from Satish. And I just want to inform all the participants that if you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A section, which you will see in the bottom of your Zoom browser. Any challenges that you're facing or anything, any solutions that you're looking for, please put your questions in here. And now I think we will move on to Candidately and Jan.
Okay, can you go to the next slide? There you go. Awesome, thank you. So that was great, Satish. I think clearly from a SaaS and a screen perspective, clearly there are tools that are now available that can, like I said, make the life of a recruiter easy. Jan, for you, I know Candidately has a unique solution. A very critical part of the whole recruiting life cycle is once you've found a great candidate, how do you best represent their skills in front of the hiring team, right? I mean, it's got to be fresh, it cannot be redundant. And then also the process of getting that feedback from the hiring team quickly. Time kills all deals. One of the biggest challenges that recruiters will tell you in their life is, I found a great candidate, but the manager just didn't move because, you know, for either they did not accurately represent the candidate's skill to the hiring team, or the hiring team just didn't engage rightly or correctly, efficiently with the process. Can you talk about how Candidately is helping recruiters solve for that part of the engagement puzzle?
Thank you so much. Yeah, absolutely. You know, you mentioned in the beginning with so many jobs on the market, the candidate now has so many choices. So that leads back to the recruiter or account manager actually having to be much, much faster than before. So you can spend 10, 20, 40, 50 minutes on a candidate, on formatting a resume or preparing the data points and, you know, creating a summary of the candidate and sending it to the client. By that time, maybe the candidate has already chosen a different position. So you want to be as fast as possible to present all of the details about your candidate as easy as possible to the customer. You know, traditionally, when you look across the entire staffing landscape, you have staffing companies that are working, you know, national accounts to individual recruiters that have for years now been submitting candidates as an email attachment, right? Unless you're working a large VMS MSP business, which is a part obviously of the market, you would traditionally use email to submit candidates. You know, in these days, you know, as you start doing more and more submissions, emails get lost, your customers take time to respond, and that time is critical. So with Candidately, essentially what we are building is, we call it the digital storefront for the modern staffing and recruiting company. Anything that is related to presenting and marketing your candidates and putting them into a spotlight to get faster decisions, to present the data better, to have insights of all of the interactions with your customers is essentially what we are working on. And we've seen great results so far with the product. We were super lucky to have really great initial customers and use cases, and are excited also to partner with Bullhorn closely on building out the product. But what I can say is that in also this partnership with Glider, and Satish and I will talk a little bit about, you know, the actual, you know, workflows a little bit later. It's basically, you know, a way for you to now say, okay, my candidate is screened. I have all of the data points. I want to get it as quickly as possible to my customer, quickly send a link. My customer views the candidate, presses a button to request feedback, or sends you an interview request and moves forward with the candidate much, much faster than before. So that's all about essentially accelerating, not the candidate experience, but now your client experience, but that leads back to actually making the placements faster and moving the candidates faster through the pipeline that you have spent so much time on screening and interviewing and vetting.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And Jan, just as a follow-up, and again, I'm curious, and that's why I'm asking, do you have any data points that show how much time the recruiters save from traditional method of just one email and you wait for your hiring manager? How long did it take traditionally, and how long does it take hiring managers to respond to this newer format of submission?
Yeah, so I think you can break this process down into a few pieces. One is actually, how do I present the resume? Do I have to reformat the resume from the original file? Do I add additional documents to it? So getting that time reduced, that's something that we're working on. Part of the functionality that Candidly has today is grabbing the actual file that you already have in your ATS and transforming it into a profile and sending it to the client. We're not reformatting the file yet. So that's something where we'll have some more data points on actually saving much, much more time, because I hear that it's essentially for some staffing companies, it takes anywhere between, I would say, 10 and 50 minutes to create a submission, right? Depending on the industries and so on, right? So that's critical time that the recruiter spends every day instead of, as you said, Satish, talking to the candidates or talking to the clients. Specifically on the customer feedback side, that's what we already see is you get with Candidly, with giving the customer a better way to give you feedback, to interact on your submissions, a faster, up to 50% at the moment, we see that the clients respond faster. So for some clients, we see they sent the link, literally the next minute they saw the customer, clicked on it, requested an interview, and the candidate is already booked for the afternoon. So that's the critical time that you'll see that you save, both on actually getting feedback and giving a customer in this days a modern interface to actually interact with you, right? Instead of scrolling through attachments and going back and forth on email threads. But what I'm super excited about is actually working on saving the recruiter much more time on actually creating the resume and the reformatted resume and that piece itself. That will definitely save the team even more valuable time that they can spend on something else.
Mute, Nimitt.
Sorry, my bad. Great solution. Thank you. And one of the things that I feel like this solves, Romila, we can go to the next slide, is in a traditional metric-driven program, customers, MSPs hold the suppliers accountable for some critical part, right? One of the things that, based on what you just said, easily you are able to shorten is that time to fill, right? Overall time that it takes from to fill a role from the time that the requisition was received to the time that the rec is filled. A big part of the lag is when the resume is sitting in the submitted status and nothing comes back from the client, right? Recruiting is 1-2 days, and post interview it moves very quickly, but the biggest lag is, and if there is ways to shorten that, that's awesome. So that brings us to this bigger question, right? Clearly it seems like some of the metrics that we hold the recruiters accountable for are in some ways archaic, right? I mean, there are time to submit and other ratios that could have adverse impact on other qualities. Quality is an important metric, and if I remember it correctly, I think the only real metric that recruiters are gauged against is this negative attrition. You went through the process, you submitted a lot of candidates, the client interviewed and they hired the candidate, but was the candidate really able to do the job, or were they let go because of poor performance? And that is obviously looked at very adversely by customers for good reason. But that's essentially one of the key metrics around quality. Satish, question to you, and I'll come back to you, Jan, again. Where do you feel these talent solutions help us reassess, relook at the established scorecard metrics, and what needs to be changed in that process?
Absolutely. So if you look at the program, I think some of the items are listed here. We proudly track efficiency metric, cost matrix, right? Where it is where there is a gap is ensuring by design that there is quality in place. And in a traditional model, we see that that happens post hire, as Nimitt pointed out, that candidates are placed and they figure out that they're not able to perform. It's too late. A lot of people have spent time already to make that happen just to figure out that they're not quality candidates. So our goal in the Glider A model is that can we bring that quality metric upstream and make it as a leading analytic at the program level, which means is that before a candidate is submitted, we need to make sure that they are indeed capable, they're indeed qualified for the role. And you know what? You can claim as many things you want in your resume. Ultimately, you have to perform after you join the organization. So there are candidates who can talk well, but they can't perform, on the job. How to mitigate those risks and save everybody time and really make the quality higher. So at the program level, what we recommend our clients that it's okay to have a little bit more upstream time spent in having a quality candidate through screening process. What it enables it though, when that data that reaches to the hiring manager, so there is a resume data for sure, but then there is a quality report from Glider. If both are presented to the hiring manager, they are very quick to take a decision. So overall, cycle time to hire goes down, even though there is upstream increase in the screening process through the supplier. So that's one part. Second part, I want to call out that at a program level, there are different suppliers and they have their own quality metrics, whatever they do. Where the problem arises that at an enterprise program level, they're not apple to apple comparison. How do we make sure that we set the quality benchmark at the enterprise program level? And now we have an objective measure of which candidate is good or not so good, not because what I think my candidate is good, right? It's objectively defined for everybody. And then all participating suppliers meet that quality criteria. So that way, even for the MSP programs, it's a lot more easier to get all the submission from the suppliers and be able to rank them in a more objective manner by how they perform, as against them reading the resume and deciding in a very subjective way who should go forward or not. So it makes everybody life easier, makes it faster process, right? For one, to set the quality benchmark. Second, that everybody can follow that to have apple to apple comparison. Program managers can really evaluate candidate objectively. And by the time it reaches hiring manager, they have all the data to make the decision faster, right? So overall, this quality metrics moving up front is going to help everybody in the long run.
Okay, amazing. Jan, anything you wanted to add to how the metrics are structured and how you're helping the recruiters get better at some of these metrics that are established?
Yeah, I can just echo a lot of the stuff that Satish has said, but I would say that specifically on the efficiency metrics, if you would look at now the solutions that both of our products provide, if you look at time to submit or time to interview, that's also critical because it's a time to submit that takes the recruiter a long time to prepare. Time to interview is this always the feedback mechanism from the client. If you can reduce that, plus you can bring in the talent quality metric into the entire game where the customer makes a faster decision. So interview to offer ratio becomes faster. That's, giving you an immense ROI, specifically on scale, right? If you look at how many placements and how many candidates you're taking through the pipeline every year, can you just improve the time to submit, time to interview, plus you have a higher quality satisfaction from your customer, you're off to the races. So I think that's those metrics in the past, have been looked at in the ATS and the CRM, but now with the two products, with Glider and Candidately, you can really, improve those and see immediate results. So like with Glider, you see immediate results, right? Right there, you have the quality metric, and with Candidately as well. So initially, when you send a candidate to a client, right away, you see the faster feedback. So, I think those are the metrics that will also define, the growth of some of the more modern staffing companies that are establishing solutions like ours. Yeah.
That's great. And one of the like I said at the top of this section, one of the most important metrics that I know end customers hold their MSPs accountable is time to fill. How much time does it take from the time that from the requisition is sent out to the time that the offer is received? And a big chunk of that is really this assessment time that sits on the customer side. And it clearly seems like Glider empowers the customers to assess the candidates quickly, and candidly does the same thing by succinctly providing that information front and center in an easily accessible format. So I know we had a question in the Q&A, and I wanted to quickly see if we could, either one of you could take that. Tom Erdis from Diverson asked, how does the resume screening process work? So I think one of the two of you, I think, talked about resume screening in your descriptions. Can you elaborate that on a bit?
Yeah, Satish, do you want to take that, or should I?
Yeah. So resume screening today is pretty much done manually by individual, and they decide, is this the right fit or not? And our goal is to make sure that instead of reading what is written in the resume, if they can showcase what they can do, is a better way to approach this. However, even from the automation perspective, Glider has resume parsing inbuilt. What it does, that it will analyze all the resume content and try to find if there is better fitment of that candidate to the job requisition. But I again, that's as good as what you claim in the resume. I say we believe in that, showcasing the same capability, and that goes a long way. So while technology-wise we have resume parsing, which can analyze the relevancy or fitness with the job requisition, but I fundamentally believe that showcasing of what you can do is a better way to present.
And I also feel that this is the way to go. So, from our perspective, the candidate's data that is presented with candidate leads already screened. So it's the final version that you're sending. But I see more and more in the market, specifically with customers that we work with today, that not the resume is important for them, but the actual work. So proving that, right, and having a tool like Glider to get those results in a compact format that you can quickly review is the future for sure.
Awesome, great.
Well, one question for Nimitt. He comes from that world a bit, right? How much time do you think recruiters take to screen a resume manually?
Good question. So first things first, most of enterprise contingent labor programs value this time to submit metric, right? And that's the start of the complication of the process, because now recruiters have this artificial 48-hour window in which they have to go back and understand the requirement, go to the market, find the people, connect with them, make sure they're available, and do screening and vetting as much as you can, right? So it's within that window, you can do what you can, but there is a limit to the recruiter's power here as well. And there is where you start to cut short some of the processes, and you find the two best people that you're just in, because after 48 hours, the window is cut off. More and more, the biggest casualty of that process is the recruiter can only say with limited confidence how good that candidate is. If you had allowed me more time, I can scour the market, I can do more deeper analysis of what they can, what they can't do. There is a little bit impact on quality the more emphasis there is on time. Coming back to your question, a good recruiter, right, would take at least a day, 2 days time to scour the market, see all the candidates that are available, fit, interested, then spend the time to vet them technically as much as you can to be able to bring that recruiter back. Still, without an independent assessment like a Glider, recruiters aren't built to do deep dive Java coding assessment. They're just not. And so it still relies on the process of, okay, let me take these to the client and then see what they say. And then if I need to go back and correct my search, I can. So I don't know if that directly answers your question, but it's I mean, they can do it in 24 hours, but that's definitely going to have an impact on quality.
Got it. Yeah, I think that the point that you brought at the end, that ultimately they need help to assess candidates, at least for technology positions, because they're deep technology candidates, and with so many new technology coming up, they can't keep up with that either anyway.
I agree 100%. Romila, next slide, please. So this is still just a kind of like a recapture of what we've heard so far in terms of tools and platforms that are now available for the recruiter community to do their job better, to go back and go to your hiring teams with a lot more confidence that this is the guy that you really want, because I've already done a deep dive technical assessment on him. The ability to mass reach thousands of candidates and see who's available and interested, and then do a deep dive technical on those solutions are available with Glider. With Candidately, you have the ability to succinctly capture the most relevant data and present in the best consumable format to your hiring team, and also encourage a quick response back. Right? It's one way to present all flowery way, but also an easy way for the customer to engage. Candidately is already achieving that. And I believe Glider also has a solution that allows the hiring team to now engage with the candidate in a more deep dive, multi-way coding environment, right? You can invite all the people from your team, and while you're doing this live interview with the candidate, I'm the hiring manager, you're the candidate, you have question repository that you can dip into, you have coding assignments, you have whiteboarding, and all of that interview feedback obviously captured at the end of the process and going back into your ATS, right? So think about how many interviews hiring managers take in today's world where that interview data is lost. You interviewed 10 people, you selected one, what happened to the other 9, right? The interview platform that Glider has also allows enterprises to capture that data, do a deep dive, but also capture that data for future consumption down the road as well. So now I want to jump to, Romila, next slide, please. When it comes to driving adoption, right? The candidates have to buy into the process, the customers have to buy into the process, the recruiters more than anything have to buy into the process that it is going to change their lives for good. Can you talk a little bit about some of the pitfalls, right? Some of the best practices that the recruiting community can imbibe to make sure there is seamless adoption across the entire ecosystem? Satish or Jan, anyone wants to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. I can chime in on that. The overall problem that I see in the market is, people are scared of new technology sometimes, I feel like, right? When they see new things, they see so many new tools out there, and it's not connected to my ATS, this is doing that and that, right? If you then, take a step back and look, how we can make processes easier, I think those are the technologies that are then really giving you the ROI. And you have to then choose, from my perspective, the technologies that are also not only building and have the features now, but looking forward for the next 3, 5, 10 years, like what's going to happen, and are they able to be a partner to build that for you and stay that partner for a long time, right? So you don't want to switch constantly new tools and retrain your recruiters. And, that's annoying for the teams, right? They're focusing on a day-to-day on their work, and then you always come with new stuff that they have to learn again. So I feel like the main problem is that, you want to explain the value first, right? So like we had those use cases where the manager or the CEO is super excited about the product, right? But then maybe has, not explained the value properly internally, hasn't sold it, everybody jumped on a demo, jumped on a training, but then people were not adopting it because they didn't understand the value. It was too fast for them, right? So making sure that you clearly communicate the value to your team, why the product is important and why it's not only important now, but also will be important for the long term. And on the other side, building products today, they should look good. You're, as a recruiter, account manager, you're like all of us, you're used to the Netflix and the Airbnb and the consumerized experience of technology, right? So building business technology shouldn't be less beautiful than other technologies that people are used to on a day-to-day, right? So making sure that you build the product as close as possible to create this consumerized experience. That's something that I think will make users adopt it more, will love it more, and then will give you also more ROI. So looking for partners that help you, like that basically cover those things, is in my opinion important. Satish, maybe you have some other insights.
Sure. So I agree with the point that you made right now, Ian, which is that whatever you present to your client has to be professional, beautiful, right? And expectations have gone through the roof right now, looking at other solutions on the consumer side. So with what we do, we wanted to understand from the customers and prospects what they believe would be the best practices. And we did research through SIA, and I think one of the slides that is shown right now here is an outcome of, I think, close to 300 participant hiring executives in the market. And we're trying to understand here what really is the benchmark that we should follow, what are the best practices, and some of the things are listed here. So don't use assessment just for the heck of tick mark, right? If you really want to serve your client, make sure that those assessments are customizable to the need that the client need, right? Middle path does not serve anybody. It's just that you did test, we have gotten a candidate tested and it looks good, but based on what? Because every client requirements are very different. They have their own quality benchmark, etc. So make sure this is customizable. Second was the bias concept. So idea is that while you are assessing candidates, make sure that there are no biases put in the way questions are being presented. They are questions relevant to the need. And they are important factor, because if you do not do these things, then there are chances that you might have some adverse impact on the candidate hiring process. So there are important factors there. Third part that was clearly called out was that with the changing technology, you have to be up to date, which means that testing candidates just at the basic level does not cut it. You have to make sure that all the evaluation criteria is up to date. And with the new technology, new advancements there, the platform has to keep up with it. Today we have 150 technology support, but as new comes in, we keep adding to the platform automatically. So it's pretty much hassle-free solution to our customers. And overall, if we make sure that we meet the client need and not putting overhead and burden to our clients, it just works seamlessly. So to drive the adoption, we have to make sure that we meet the actual need, not just a tick mark for the heck of taking assessment in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there is one question that I really liked, and that was regarding proctoring. And someone has asked that I've used manual proctors before for mass hiring. How does online proctoring work to prevent fraud?
Oh, excellent. So Glider is proud to share that we are leader in ensuring that candidates are indeed genuinely taking the test. And we have 50 checkpoints to ensure that this is the candidate indeed who took the test and not somebody else, or without any help from external party or resources. So to name a few here, some of the candidates would try to refer to another laptop, or they will try to have somebody else, some other person helping the candidate, or sometimes they use their phone to collaborate. All those activities are blocked and monitored live through our solution. And the good part is not that we tell the candidate that this is what we are doing and tracking in a very transparent way. We do not do anything behind the scene. That is a very important part of the candidate experience, right? The way I put it, that imagine you are sitting across a hiring manager in live interview, and all the etiquette, all the decorum you are expected to exhibit in that session. If you just do that, you will be fine, right? So what we've done, we try to digitize that experience in our platform. But the good part that we, of course, make the candidate aware what they can expect in the beginning of the test. But during the test as well, if they forgot, if they violate those things, then all the violations are called out explicitly to make sure that, hey, oh, I was not supposed to do that, right? To a degree that if they look away and get focused on another screen, system will say, come back, focus here on this screen, right? And then on the other end, we provide the same analytics and an audit trail to the hiring manager as well, so that they feel confident that yes, this test was indeed taken in a genuine manner and nobody else gamed the system in the process. And that's very important to keep all parties in sync of what to expect and what are true violations, right? I mean, there are cases in which I'm taking the test, my son can walk in and system will capture it, the two faces are identified, but that's not a true violation, right? So those can be flagged as, hey, it's not a violation, and very clearly shown to the hiring team as well.
Great. And I know that there are a lot of techs that people use to cheat these days, like earphones or things like that. So I think online proctoring takes care of all of those things. That can detect any of those things and prevent that. So I think that is something that people would be very interesting to know. There's another very interesting question. It's regarding how do you ensure that the talent selected using Candidately and Glider platform will perform well on the job? How do you measure or assure talent quality?
So in our partnership, we are able to capture richer data in a single pane. What it means is that the candidates get assessed in the environment that I just described earlier, right? And at the right skill level, at the right competency, for the right competencies. And those data, along with their work history, their own self-rating, is presented in a single pane to the hiring manager to make a decision faster. So I think that the glider score that is submitted along with the Candidately report makes so much difference to the hiring manager to believe that they're competent, they're relevant, and they're genuine.
Yeah, I can just.
Actually, I had a question. Sorry, Jan, go ahead.
No, I can just echo what Satish said on that question. I have nothing else to add on that in this moment.
So I had a question that I wanted to ask both. I know we touched upon these topics at different points during the conversation, but front and center, right? Two things that are very important to enterprises and something that they expect from their staffing companies are both from a diversity recruiting, diversity hiring perspective. How are you enabling that? How are you driving that? Second, engagement, right? For workers that are already working for you. What do you do to make sure that they are happy, that they are engaged, that they finish their assignments, they eventually go on and become employees at the customers and good ambassadors? Both, diversity recruiting and tracking is critical, and so is engagement of the resources that are with you. Jan, does I know you have Candidately, you have other products as well. Does any of the products that you have assist with either the diverse recruiting or diverse tracking or engagement?
So at the moment where we try to bring in that aspect is a lot of data anonymization so that Satish mentioned already. We want to present skills, you want to present tests to your customer. Maybe you want to hide certain aspects of that candidate, be it picture, name, be it maybe location, and so on. So we try to make sure that our customers have the option to select those data points or remove those data points very easily to enhance that diversity inclusion workflows. That's something that from our perspective, where we can essentially help with. We are not included essentially in this process where we source candidates or anything like that, right? So wherever we can help to make those workflows easier and make that entire program and the sourcing for that program easier, then definitely.
So removing bias is something that the candidate tool can do for the candidates. Satish, anything you wanted to add either on diversity or on the engagement part?
So engagement, let me capture the engagement part first. So engagement is very important because that really shows how strongly they believe in the brand and possibly stay longer at the organization. And that starts from the very first touch point with the candidate, right? Throughout the interview process and ultimately onboarding and hiring. So the engagement is key. On the diversity front, and by the way, we have solution for that through Screenbot, right? We touched upon earlier. But the diversity part is very, very important for Glider. We stand for that. So of course, through our DNA solution, we try to make sure that there is no bias in the hiring process. However, I think another point you brought up, Nimitt, that diversity tracking, right? So we want to make sure that the pool is diverse from the get-go and remains that way, and show the funnel of diverse pool throughout in the process. So we have something in the works to make sure that we can tackle that problem as well, and we will be announcing it very soon.
Okay, great, awesome. Romila, any other questions? I know we are any other questions that came through that we wanted to address?
Yes, and since we were talking about diversity, I think a lot of people are interested in knowing how the technology behind diversity hiring works. So there's a question here that says, I have been hearing a lot about online recruiting platforms enabling diversity hiring. Can your platforms ensure bias-free hiring? And how does that work?
I think you guys already answered, but it sounds like I think both the tools right now, they don't address the sourcing part of the challenge that is relied on others. They start from the screen, assess, engage, and then the onboard part. So anything else? Or anything else, Satish, you or Jan wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I think we are a technology solution. We are a SaaS technology solution. We do not bring candidate pool right now. You bring your candidate pool. We make sure that it's vetted, it's engaged, and it's submitted fast. Get feedback, all the good things post that process.
Right. I think a lot of people also wanted to know in the candidate report, what all information is shared, and is there some bias that can be prevented in the candidate report? Is there any information, like that is kept away to prevent biases? So what does the candidate report look like?
So at least in Glider side, right, I mentioned earlier that we could hide all the personally identifiable information until the point that they shortlist the candidate based on their competency score. And then, once they shortlist, then they have a mechanism to reveal who they are. So that way the complete decision is relied on candidate ability to showcase how good they are and not any other thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, from the perspective of the data that report shows fantastic results. Encourage everybody to take a look and read through those. I think there's definitely going to be a lot of insights that you can take away from the report for your own business, and also encourage you to take a look at Glider for sure. I'm a big fan. So thanks guys for putting together the report with CEO.
So I think there's this one area that we kind of did not maybe touch upon in great detail, but someone has asked a very relevant question, and I think that will help cover that area, and that is candidate or talent analytics. So the question is, what kind of talent analytics does Glider and Candidately provide, and how can that be used to meet recruiting KPIs?
Yeah, so maybe I can jump in here. We have a couple of things that we provide to our customers. The most important analytics and KPIs that we have today is knowing if your customer has actually looked at your resumes and your submissions, and when they have done that. In the past, when you submit candidates through your email, you mostly have insights if maybe the email was opened, but those trackers rarely work these days. So with Candidly, you know exactly when the hiring manager has looked at the resume, how long they have reviewed the data, so you can make better decisions on follow-ups, and you know exactly the intention. So if you see that somebody looked at the resume for a couple of seconds, maybe not as interesting for that person if they've skimmed through the resume maybe a couple of minutes, right? So you have those insights, which we see are the most important one at the moment that our customers really love. And then obviously giving you a holistic overview of how is my account management or recruiting team performing on submissions, how fast are they to submit, how fast are we to get responses, and give you the insights holistically across the team to make better decisions. That's at least what we provide, but Satish, you have also more insights on the quality data and other stuff as well.
Definitely. So from Glider perspective, since we are at the center of this ecosystem, we work with the candidate, we work with the staffing firm, we work with the MSP program, and of course, hiring manager. There's so many touch points of different participants in our solution, and we track everything. Data is king for us, right? So we, at any time, we would know, have this invite went out to this candidate, did they open the email, did they click on the link, have they started? So that's easy part to capture. But then we go to the aggregate level and figure out that for a client, how is the spread of candidate competency, at what level, who is the quality candidate, who is mid-level. So we bring that insight and make the pool available for next job as well. So even though the candidate get tested right now for opportunity one, might or might not get placed, but second time when next job comes, you have the whole competency data available to decide, hey, we already have a pool of candidates who can be used to serve this client need. And then on the other side, on the placement side, we know that who are the candidates who have been submitted by suppliers against different job, and we map that data at aggregate level to help our clients see which pocket of the geographic regions have quality candidate, which pocket of the geographic region have more fraud, right? We map it in geographic area as well. So a lot of insights are presented to our clients and to derive more value from their existing investment.
Great answer, and I think it did answer a lot of queries that we got regarding talent analytics. And we have a lot many questions, but unfortunately we are towards the end of the webinar, and I know that there's a lot of exciting things happening at Glider and Candidately. So I would love Jan and Satish and Nimitt to just share what are these great things that you're planning to come up with next, and what's happening in Glider and Candidately, anything that you'd like to share. And all of the questions that are remaining, we will get back to all the participants with all the answers from Nimitt, Satish, and Jan in a blog, as well as we'll share the recording with you. So now, if you can just talk about all the exciting things that are happening at Glider and Candidately, I think we're all interested.
Awesome. Maybe I can start. Thank you so much again for the invitation for the webinar. It was great to be here. Really great topics and a great conversation. From our perspective, we're excited to innovate on the client experience front and continue the partnership with Glider to make that really a great experience for all of our customers. From a perspective of the company, we have just recently announced that Bullhorn became an investor in Candidately, so we're very closely working with their teams to create the digital storefront on top of Bullhorn for staffing and recruiting companies. So there's a lot of stuff to come. We're releasing now new features almost every 2 weeks, so stay tuned. Sign up for our newsletter if you're interested to learn more about the product and the use cases. Thank you so much again for having me, and hand over to Satish to share also some news.
Thank you. And actually, before Satish goes, maybe I can go. Because you called me, I've only been here 2 weeks, right? So I'll let Satish talk about what's exciting to come. For me, the most exciting part is I would love to still be here at the end of the year. So I look forward to having my job for another 6 months. I'm kidding. So exciting stuff. Satish, do you want to go?
Yes, definitely. Again, a lot of exciting things that are coming from Glider. We are definitely strengthening our fraud detection, no doubt. That has been one of the biggest pain points, and we already are way ahead in the market, but we will continue to innovate further on top. I did talk about ScreenBot, and we are going to invest a lot more to make sure that we're able to outreach, engage, omni-channel, and make sure that we are able to help our client get out to all the candidates who are there in the market without them putting much effort. And that is going to help a lot of staffing firms. And then we have a solution coming out called Glider Verify, which is during the onboarding process, how do we make sure that it is the same candidate who went through your interview round or the assessment round? Because what we are seeing in the remote world, that is becoming a challenge as well. And we already have it. Few customers are using that solution in a beta version already. We will roll out very soon to everybody in the market. And there are a bunch of solutions in DNI, which we can talk later. Exciting things are coming on that as well.
Cool.
Thank you everyone. Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Glider. Thank you for all. I know we had a lot of different channels that this was going out through the Zoom webinar, through LinkedIn Live, through both the posts. Hopefully this was of good value for the attendees.